Morning, boys and girls. Myself, Dr. Ramesh Chandra, and I'll be taking today methods of prolonging drug action. So, what are the methods which are employed for prolonging the action of a drug? So far you have learned about what is a drug, and then you must have seen about what is the pharmacology of drug and pharmacotherapeutics, its nature and sources, and then what are the routes or various routes of administration of drug. So what happens to drug when it is taken in or administered or inside? And we have seen the various drug formulations as well as drug delivery systems. And what happens to drug when it enters the body, like absorption, metabolism, distribution, and excretion. So you have learned so far all those things. And then about this distribution, transformation, biotransformation, and you must have learned about its plasma half-life also. So now let us discuss or let us learn about the various methods which are employed for prolonging the action of a drug. How do we prolong the drug action? Certain diseases like hypertension, diabetes, mellitus, tuberculosis, epilepsy, depression, as well as psychosis, wherein the drug action should be prolonged. So these are the conditions where we need the prolongation of action of a drug to maintain round the clock. So we need to keep the disease under control or the disease under control and to have the effect over a longer period. So these are conditions wherein we need the drug action to be prolonged. So what is the need to prolong the action of a drug? So why do we need to prolong the action of a drug? So the pharmacological effect of a drug is proportional to the target drug concentration. So more the drug, so more we see the effect of the drug. So the pharmacological effect of the drug is proportional to the target drug concentration. Target drug concentration is influenced by absorption, distribution, metabolism, as well as excretion. So the concentration of drug is mainly influenced by these conditions like absorption, distribution, metabolism, as well as excretion. So why do we need? So to overcome the drawbacks or drawbacks of absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion, to achieve specific clinical objectives, as well as to have the therapeutic benefits like increased patient convenience and patient compliance. So we need to prolong the action of a drug because to have better patient compliance as well as increased patient convenience and to have an improved efficacy as well as to reduce adverse effects. So let's see the advantages of prolonging the action of a drug. The frequency of administration is reduced. So as the action of a drug is prolonged, so frequency of administration of drug is also reduced. So it is more convenient to the patient. Patient doesn't complain all the time. So it improves better patient compliance. And then larger fluctuation in plasma concentrations are avoided. So this is one factor wherein you have to look in for. So larger fluctuations in plasma concentration of the drug are avoided and thereby no side effects as well as no high peaks of the drug is seen. Drug effect could be maintained overnight. So if at all you want to have overnight action of the drug, so by prolonging the action, you can always achieve this. So drug effect could be maintained overnight without disturbing sleep. Like in case of blood pressure, BP, a person who is having high blood pressure, blood glucose levels. So these are the advantages of prolonging the action of a drug. Like in frequency of administration is reduced, so more convenient, improved patient complaints. Patient doesn't complain all the time. Large fluctuations in plasma concentrations are avoided, wherein you have less side effects and drug effect could be maintained overnight without disturbing sleep, like in conditions like high blood pressure and in diabetes patients. All drugs do not need to be made long-acting. All the drugs are necessarily not to be made long-acting. Suppose in a condition like headache, you don't have to give the drug throughout the time or length of the day. So you give the drug and in a matter of hour or two, the headache will subside. So all the drugs need not be made long acting, like in those used for brief therapeutic effect, like in case of hypnotics or headache remedy. So wherein these are the conditions, you need not make a long acting. You need not need a drug which has to be made long acting. Those with inherently long duration of action. The drugs which have got high plasma half-life, like these drugs need not be, need not be made to prolonged, or their action need not be made prolonged, like doxycycline, omeprazole, deoxyamlodipine. So these are a couple of drugs which have got high duration of action or long duration of action. So thus such drugs need not be made to long acting. So the drug action can be prolonged by what are the various methods employed to prolong the action of a drug. So let's see. So by prolonging absorption from site of administration, by prolonging absorption from the site of absorption where the drug is administered. So orally, by administering it on full stomach. Suppose you take a drug on full stomach. So the drug is absorbed very slowly by giving it in various coated formulations also. So when you give the drug on full stomach, or when you give it on various coated formulations, so this is one condition where you can prolong the action of a drug or prolong the absorption of the drug from its route of administration or site of administration. So by administering it on full stomach or by giving it in various coated formulations, example, sustained release tablets, Spansul capsules, as well as controlled release tablet or a capsule. So absorption of a drug after parenteral administration can be retarded by. So absorption of drug after giving in various other parenteral routes of administration can be retarded by reduction in the vascularity of the absorbing surface. So reduction in the vascularity of the absorbing surface. So this can be achieved by administration of a vasoconstrictor drug with a can be administered drug with a vasoconstrictor drug. So per se, let's take an example, adrenaline or a noradrenaline. Adrenaline, which is a vasoconstrictor, is combined with procaine. So over here, a drug is combined with a vasoconstrictor drug. So what happens here when a drug like adrenaline and a procaine are combined together? So when these two drugs are combined together, the absorption of xylocaine or lignocaine is reduced. The absorption of the lignocaine is reduced, and it is we can see the action of the lignocaine or procaine, whatever. So what happens? So when these two drugs like adrenaline, which being a vasoconstrictor, and low anesthetic like procaine or lignocaine or whatever, when they're combined together, so what happens here? There is reduced absorption of the local anesthetic into general circulation, and thereby you'll have greater anesthetic effect and reduces chance of systemic toxicity. So when drug like adrenaline, which being a vasoconstrictor combined with procaine, so there is reduced absorption of this drug, whereby there is increased action of the local anesthetic and reduces local systemic effects. So reduction in the solubility of the drug or giving the drug in a suspension form. For example, the compound like penicillin, when it is combined with procaine, these two form, this compound forms has got a poor water solubility. And when these are given in a suspension form, it's absorbed very slowly and has got a longer duration of action. So absorption of drug after parenteral administration can be retarded by reduction in the vascularity of the absorbing surface. So when a vasoconstrictor drug like adrenaline, procaine, or xylocaine, lignocaine are combined together, what happens here? The absorption of procaine is reduced and hence has got better action, and there is also reduced systemic effects. And a reduction in the solubility of the drug or giving the drug in a suspension form. For example, penicillin is combined with procaine. So this compound has got poor water solubility. So administration of the drug in oily solution or in combination with beeswax. Example, pitracin tannate in oil, penicillin with aluminum monostearate, so which is a water repellent. Combination of the drug with a protein. For example, protamine, zinc, insulin. Esterification. Testosterone and estrogens esterified with carboxylic acids. So this gives compounds like benzoate, propionate, enanthate, and cypionate. Pegylation, combination with polyethylene glycol. Depot preparations. DOCA, desoxycorticosteroid acetate in Addison's disease, or steroid-filled elastic capsules, progesterones for contraceptions. So these are a couple of examples for depot preparations. Transdermal drug delivery systems. The drug impregnated in adhesive patches, strips, or as ointments, applied on skin and utilized in some cases to prolong drug action. Example, nitroglycerin ointment, transdermal patches of estroidal, scopolamine, as well as clonidine. So nitroglycerin ointment is used in case of angina, transdermal patches of estradiol, scopolamine for motion sickness, as well as clonidine for hypertension. So the drug, transdermal drug system, the drug is impregnated in adhesive patches, strips, or as ointments, mainly applied on skin and utilized in some cases to prolong drug action. Example, nitroglycerin ointment, transdermal patches of estradiol, and then scopolamine. So as you can see in the picture, adhesive patch is being attached beyond the ear, so the drug is relieved at a constant pace for a longer period of time. Retarding drug metabolism. So combination of drugs with levodopa. Carbidopa, combination of drug with levodopa. Carbidopa inhibits peripheral conversion of levodopa with dopamine. So what happens over here is the action of levodopa can be extended by combining it with a dopa decarboxylate inhibitor, which inhibits its metabolism in the blood. So when carbidopa is combined with levodopa, so this carbidopa, being a dopa decarboxylate inhibitor, inhibits the peripheral conversion of levodopa to dopamine. So therefore, there is increased dopamine in the brain. Levodopa, there is increased levodopa, and then small chemical modification can markedly affect the rate of metabolism. Example, addition of ethinyl group to estradiol makes it longer acting. So retarding drug metabolism, what happens here is when carbidopa is combined with levodopa, this carbidopa being a peripheral, it inhibits the drug, it inhibits the enzyme dopa decarboxylate, which inhibits the conversion of this dopa decarboxylate, it converts levodopa to dopamine. So combination of carbidopa with levodopa, carbidopa inhibits peripheral conversion of levodopa to dopamine. And then small chemical modification can markedly affect the rate of metabolism. Addition of ethinyl group to estradiol makes it longer acting. Inhibition of specific enzyme by one drug can prolong the action of another drug. Example, allopurinol inhibits the degradation of 6-mercaptopurine. Ritonavir boosts the levels of indinavir, and cilastin protects imipenem from degradation in kidney. Retarding renal excretion. Retarding renal excretion. So probenecid is used to reduce the penicillin excretion. So since both these drugs share the same tubular secretory pathways, so hence probenecid is used to reduce the penicillin excretion by increasing plasma protein binding. long-acting sulfonamide, sulfamethoxypyridazine is bound to plasma protein more extensively than short-acting sulfadiazine. So this the drug action can be increased by binding by plasma protein binding. So drugs like sulfamethoxypyridazine is bound to plasma protein more extensively than short-acting sulfadiazine. So the drug is released from the protein-bound complex at a slower rate, and hence we have longer duration of action of the drug. Suramine, which is extensively used in treatment of trypanosomosis, is also bound to plasma proteins. So such drugs have got longer duration of action or prolonged duration action. Special drug delivery systems. These are different systems. These are different systems which incorporate drugs in a dosage form that release the medication at a predetermined site or at a predetermined rate over an extended period of time from a single application. So these are various systems which incorporate the drug in a dosage form that release the medication at a predetermined site or at a predetermined rate or over an extended period of time from a single application. So let's see the advantages of this system. So to increase the drug bioavailability at a required zone, so you must all know you must be knowing what is bioavailability. So bioavailability is nothing but the rate and extent to which the drug is available at the desired site of action. So to increase the drug bioavailability at required zone to prevent or minimize harmful side effects and as well as to have prolonged duration of action. So what are the different drug delivery systems? So they are mainly oral modified release drug delivery systems. They are like they delay release tablets, or they are site-specific or time-release tablets, or they may be extended release or program release tablets. Parenteral preparations, depot injections like testosterone or progesterone, subdermal implants like pellets, example, Norplant, Ivanagistor. Advantages, no missing of dose is seen. So as you can see in picture, these are implants which are introduced into the body. Example being levonorgestrel. Transdermal drug delivery systems. Advantages, no pain, no missing of dose. So we have seen transdermal patches in previous slide. Example being clonidine, scopolamine, and nitroglycerin. Disadvantages, drug delivery is passive. Large molecular weight drugs are not delivered by this route. So example over here, you can see the lady is having a transdermal patch on a deltoid of the hand, deltoid muscle of the hand. So the drug is released at a constant pace and over a longer duration of time, and desired action can be attained. Nasal drug delivery systems. Example, antihistamines and desmopressin are administered through this route. Advantages, they bypass first pass metabolism by the liver. Oxycerts. So these are thin elliptical microunits that contain the drug in a reservoir form, which the drug is slowly released through a membrane by diffusion at a steady rate. So mainly it is used in the eyes. These are elliptical microunits that contain the drug in a reservoir form from which the drug is released through the membrane by diffusion at a steady rate. So the example of an oxycert is pilocarpine, which is used mainly in the treatment of glaucoma. So it is placed under the eyelid to deliver steady flow of pilocarpine round the clock for 7 days without causing any discomfort, thus avoiding the need for repeated eye drops. So the patient will not need the eye drops to be repeated daily. So what happens here? The oxycert is placed under the eyelid to deliver steady flow of pilocarpine round the clock for 7 days without causing any discomfort, thus avoiding the need for repeated eye drops. So as you can see in the picture, the oxycert is placed beneath the eyelid and the drug is released at a steady pace. So mainly used in the treatment of glaucoma. So use of Percocet, it prolongs the effect and reduces systemic side effects. Progestacet, an intrauterine contraceptive device which produces controlled release of minute quantity of progesterone within the uterus for a year or more, or from 1 year to 5 years. So it is an IUD, intrauterine contraceptive device, which releases minute quantities of progesterone from a period of a year to 5 years. So an intrauterine contraceptive device produces controlled release of minute quantities of progesterone within the uterus from year to 5 years. So as you can see in the picture, this is the device and which is implanted into the uterus. So this releases progesterone for a longer duration and hence the desired action can be attained. Drug-eluting stents, a metallic device containing a drug gradually released over 14 to 30 days, but they are expensive. So these are mainly used in coronary arteries. The metallic device containing a drug gradually released over a period of 14 to 30 days, but they're expensive. Example, sirolimus, an immunosuppressant drug, helps in preventing restenosis after coronary bypass surgery. Paclitaxel, an anti-malignancy drug. So as you can see in the picture, this is a metallic stent which is introduced into the artery. So it releases drug for a longer period of time. So this is mainly used after coronary bypass graft surgery. Prodrug. The prodrug is an inactive chemical compound that after administration undergoes biotransformation to the pharmacological active drug. So prodrug is an inactive chemical compound. So once it is taken inside, it undergoes various bioformation states, or it undergoes biotransformation and gets converted to its pharmacological active drug, whereupon the action of the drug is seen. So it is kind of novel drug delivery system, whatever. So wherein the original drug is a proactive drug which is taken in, or which is inactive chemical compound, which after administration undergoes biotransformation to form the pharmacologically active drug. So let's see some of the examples. So may overcome the pharmaceutical or pharmacokinetic barriers limiting the usefulness of a drug. Example, chlorophenicol, palmitate, L-dopa, as we have seen in other slides. So carbidopa and levodopa are combined together. So wherein this are L-dopa, levodopa, which is peripherally converted. So the drug carbidopa inhibits the conversion of L-dopa. This levodopa cross the blood-brain barrier and is available in the brain. So an inactive compound crosses the blood-brain barrier and gets converted to an active compound. And then profoxifene, napsilate, and talampsilene. To achieve longer duration of action, example, fluphenazine, and then to produce site-specific delivery of drugs. Example, methenamine, which is a prodrug for formaldehyde, is mainly used as a urinary tract antiseptic. Targeted drug delivery systems. So to improve the drug delivery to the exact site where it is required. So why do we target? So what is the need? What is the use of this targeted drug delivery system? To improve the drug delivery to the exact site where it is required and to have prolonged duration of action with minimal side effects from a single application. Different targeted drug delivery systems have been recently developed. So the use of these systems are targeted delivery to improve the drug delivery to the exact site where it is required and to have prolonged duration of action with minimal side effects. From a single application, different target delivery systems have been developed of late. So let's see some target drug delivery systems, liposomes. So it is a vehicle for targeted drug delivery. These are concentric spherical shells of phospholipids in a watery medium into which drugs are incorporated. So they are mainly administered by IV route. Example, anti-cancer drugs like daunorubicin and doxorubicin, antifungal drugs like amphotericin B, and antibiotic gentamicin. So this is basically a vehicle for target drug delivery. These are concentric spherical shells of phospholipids in a water medium into which drugs are incorporated. They are mainly administered by parenteral route, that is by IV route. And then the examples of these routes of a liposomes are anti-cancer drugs like daunorubicin and doxorubicin, antifungal drugs like amphotericin B, and then antibiotics like gentamicin. So as you can see in the picture, this is a liposome for a drug delivery system. It is a phospholipid, and then it is concentric spherical shell. And an example of liposome, that is amphotericin B. So you must have seen of late during this pandemic, this is a drug which is mainly used in black fungus or mucormycosis. So liposomal amphotericin B, which is used mainly in the treatment of fungal infections like mucormycosis, and is also used in Kala Azar also. Monoclonal antibodies. A monoclonal antibody reacts with a single antigenic determinant of an antigen. So these monoclonal antibodies, they mainly react with single antigenic determinant of any antigen. So if a B lymphocyte which produces antibody to a single epitope is fused with constantly dividing cancer cells in polyethylene glycol, the resulting hybrid cell will produce antibodies to a single species of that epitope. So these antibodies are called as monoclonal antibodies. For example, if a B lymphocyte which produces antibody to a single epitope is fused with constantly dividing cancer cells in a polyethylene glycol, the resulting hybrid cell will produce antibodies to a single species of that epitope. So these antibodies are called as monoclonal antibodies because these are derived from a single hybrid cell or clone of cells. Example, trastuzumab against breast cancer carcinoma, rituximab, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, omalizumab, bronchial asthma, palvizumab, respiratory syncytial virus. So monoclonal antibodies also target with the desired anti-cancer drugs. Nanotechnology. So this is being used of late. It's a latest development. So these are mechanisms wherein the delivering of the medication to the exact location is possible. So delivering the medication to exact location for the treatment of cancer. So exact target, the drug is delivered to the exact target, mainly used for the treatment of cancer and for the repair of damaged tissues. The treatment of cancer with magnetic nanoparticles is of the size of 20 nm, which is 5 times smaller than RBC. So this concludes the class. So we have seen various methods of prolonging the duration of action of a drug. So the action can be prolonged by retarding drug absorption. We have learned that the action of a drug can be prolonged by retarding drug absorption, by retarding the metabolism of the drug, and then retarding renal excretion of the drug, and then using compounds which are highly protein bound and modifying its molecular structure, so on and so forth. And we also learned about various special drug delivery systems. What are the various, like we have seen transdermal patches, occlusites, progestericides, so on and so forth. And apart from that, we have seen target drug delivery systems also, like nanotechnology and then monoclonal antibodies and liposomes. So that concludes the class. If at all you have any doubts, you can get back to me. Right, stay home and stay safe.